focuses on cutting-edge domain knowledge and benchmarking with world-class businesses.
Big Tech.
She Speaks is a triannual seminar series that initiates meaningful dialogues relating to gender empowerment. We wish to sensitize and enlighten communities across India. In the last 2 years, we've had 5 editions of She Speaks, where many illustrious women have shared their experience on making the ecosystem friendlier towards working women. It stressed on the fact that if we deprive women from the opportunities of economic participation, we deprive half the global population from making the planet more egalitarian and prosperous. In edition 4, experts analyzed the issue of harassment of women that manifests itself in multiple forms in the home, workplace, city, state, transport system, and across professions or just anywhere. During edition 5, we collected voices from all over the world as we realized that even in the digital age, tagging and typecasting or stereotyping women is a challenge faced by women across all age groups, ethnicities, races, regions, and religions. Currently, the world is witnessing yet another serious form of abuse in the form of sex trafficking or commercial sexual exploitation. The International Labour Organization estimated 21 million individuals are trafficked worldwide and forced into labor. The ILO estimates 11.4 million victims of trafficking are women and girls. According to National Anti-Trafficking Committee, there were 35,000 cases of child trafficking and 1,25,750 cases of women trafficking reported in India in 2016-17, with West Bengal topping in both categories. So in this edition of She Speaks, edition 6, we are all set to discuss this critical and sensitive issue of sex trafficking in our subcontinent. With this, I welcome you all to yet another riveting round of solution-based discussion and a rehabilitation or survivor story of a victim. Welcome to edition 6, Sex Trafficking of Girls and Women in the Subcontinent.
Sad commodities, terrible communities, unbearable commodities, whom I have confronted, whom I have seen, with whom I have dealt with. That is dealt with primarily within Immoral Traffic Prevention Act, 1986. Immoral Traffic Prevention Act talks about commercial sex in a very dirty term called prostitution. You know that very well. We don't use this term.
We don't use
in social parlance, we don't use. I mean, since I run Prayas and I have a lot to do with the voluntary organizations working for the
But
women.
sadly, many organizations continue to
No,
use
this
it
term,
very hurtful.
no, not only there, let me inform you.
In lot of literature also.
The term is the legal term, unfortunately. Unfortunately, even now of course the human trafficking law is coming up. You must have heard that the cabinet has cleared the human trafficking law and things will decidedly change. I had thought and suggested that let ITP be annulled, because ITP should not have a place actually. It should be annulled because it's a law which talks about let's say women or the pimp or the procurers and the brothel keepers, all of them within that larger picture, larger work of commercial sex kind of trade, the business, which is said to be, third largest trade in the world, along with arms and drugs, etc., etc. So that is one part. So let us understand that the woman who becomes the person who gets into the trade on account of compulsions, no choice. I mean, the whole idea of consent is a myth. It's a total myth. Let us not talk in terms of consent at all. It's a totally coercive consent. And it's something, which she never consents. I mean, I have dealt with commercial sex workers in big numbers. And I know them. Many of them I have looked after. Several of them I am still guardian to. I look after them. And I know for sure that none of them had anything called consent with their heart. It is all forced situation. It's all compulsion. She is brought into it. Who wants to be in that situation? I mean, kind of having a relationship with somebody is something, but selling out your body for that kind of forced sex is no pleasure. It can't be ever. So that part of it, and unfortunately, I would like to again flag this issue. Unfortunately, under Immoral Traffic Prevention Act, which is even now the law that prevails, under that 70 to 75% of the accused persons happen to be women, and those women who are there, they are locked up, they are prostituted, they are convicted for the simple reason that they look for customers. The soliciting is that section of law, section 8 I think. The soliciting for commercial sex, soliciting for the customers is a crime. And she solicits under those conditions which are defined. And 70% of the cases happen to be against those women who solicit. When they solicit, they become accused. So you are really victimizing the victim. And the word victim is appropriately I am using here because it is total victimization, nothing else. So basically this point has to be clarified that commercial sex, when we talk about commercial sex in the traditional legal sense, where people come, it's something very different. You know, through Prayas, for example, because it works for children, works for women, we run crisis intervention centers where, you know, the women of those who are exploited within home conditions or in situations like this, they come to us. Many of these young girls, small girls live with us because we run homes for children also. You know, we run 47 homes. You may be knowing that Prayas is an organization employs about 850 people. We have 247 centers, including 47 homes. And there are homes for girls, homes for children, homes for adults also. And many of these girls who are with us, some of them happen to be the victims of trafficking and commercial sex also, some of them. And when you take the entire situation into consideration, you will find that nearly 30% of the victims of this kind of commercial sex or whatever happen to be children. They are less than 18 years of age. And you can see the devastating effect of it. So briefly, you know, I would like to point out that I was worked in this field for 34 years as a policeman. So that's the point I am trying to make, and that's all I would like to say for now. I can add something.
I have a
पेट्रियार्की के बाद शुरू हुआ। पेट्रियार्की के पहले सेक्स वर्क था ही नहीं। औरत भी आजाद थी किसी के साथ भी सेक्स करने को। जब मर्द ने अपनी बीवी को तो घर में रख लिया बच्चों पैदा करने के लिए और दूसरी औरतों के लिए उसने बाजार बना दिया। तो मैं कहती हूँ भाई अगर प्रोस्टिट्यूशन है तो उसको उसके हकूक मिलने चाहिए, उसके अधिकार मिलने चाहिए। तो मैं कहती हूँ हाँ, इसको सेक्स वर्क कहना चाहिए। फिर मैं अपने आप से पूछती हूँ कि मेरी बेटी, उसको क्या मैं सेक्स वर्क में जाने दूंगी? तो मेरा जवाब आता है नहीं। क्या मैं खुद सेक्स वर्क करूंगी? मेरा जवाब आता है नहीं। तो मैं बीच में हूँ। मेरी पॉलिटिकल पोजीशन है कि इसको मैं सेक्स वर्क कहती हूँ, क्योंकि the part of the movement where I belong, we call it sex work. But मैं पूरे दिल से नहीं कह सकती, तो मैं अपनी बेटी के लिए इसको एक वाजिब चीज नहीं समझती। तो मेरी तो बस इतनी सी दरख्वास्त है कि आज इस मुनाफाखोरी के इस बाजार में औरत बिकेगी जब तक खरीदने वाले मर्द होंगे। लड़के बिकेंगे, औरतों के लिए नहीं, उनको भी मर्दों के लिए खरीदार बेचा जाता है। तो थोड़ा बहुत नजर अपने मर्दों पर डालें कि बेचारों का ये सेक्स ऑब्सेशन कुछ हम कम करें। और जब मुझे बाद में ये बोलने को कहेंगे तो मैं आज अपने भाइयों के पुरुषों के बारे में ही बोलने के लिए आई हूँ। थैंक यू।
आपका बहुत ही इसमें योगदान है, and I think that is where I come to, because you know you had spoken, Vinita, right at the beginning, because there were 2 points. एक तो जो कमला जी ने कहा है, I think that's a very very valid perspective that has been provided. But you know what you had mentioned, that we try to look at solutions basically going forward, and I think what we can see here is that there are 2 aspects of the problem. One is those who are already into this, what do we do, how do we rehabilitate, or whatever you want to call it. That is something that has been, some thoughts have been shared on this. And the other is, and I think that was a part of what Kamla ji referred to, is going forward, how do we take steps so that, it does not continue to expand and continue to grow? Because Amoji has been in the police, some of our other friends here have also been in the police. And there, whatever are the statistics that are coming out, they tend to suggest that this menace, this scourge, this problem has been growing. So how do we restrain it? How do we curtail it? How do we arrest it so that it starts coming down? And so one part is in that sense of the solutions going forward. And the other is, I think the point that was made, that we have to look at it in the totality, in the macro system of the dignity of women per se. So in the very limited time that you have given me, and I have already spent, I think, about 2 or 3 minutes of that, I'll just like to make 2 or 3 points. One is in terms of solutions, and this is, comes to Kamlaji's point also. I think what is really required is in terms of changing the mindset, changing the thinking of people. I remember, I think, मैं आपसे ही बात कर रहा था विनीता पहले एक when I was heading the National Foundation for Communal Harmony, we had done a number of events with the National Commission for Women, basically again focusing on the rights, the problems, the difficulties, and how to bring it up front as far as people are concerned. And in some of the programs, we found that most of the participants were women themselves. I think that is not the problem. The problem really lies as far as men are concerned. And as we started moving, we started sort of expanding the outreach to men. And I think I'm really very happy that in this congregation here today, we have a significant number of men, because I think this is a message which not only needs to be internalized and assimilated, but it also needs to be taken out, taken beyond this. So one is